Welcome to the TruckVin.com podcast. As America's foremost truck buyer, we keep you informed on all topics regarding the trucking industry. We work with industry leaders to provide valuable insight. When you're ready to sell, call America's foremost truck buyer at 855-TRUCK20 or visit TruckVin.com. And now, your host for the TruckVin.com podcast, Zach Ellis.
Good morning. Welcome back to the TruckVin.com podcast. May is here. We made it to the first quarter. We're into the second, actually halfway into the second quarter, and it has been a little bit different change of pace than what we saw last year. We've got a packed show. I've got a lot of things. I took about a week to get this show ready, and usually it's only a couple of days because I want to talk about a few topics, and had a few customers ask me, hey, what exactly is the TruckVin.com podcast? Because we know that you guys essentially buy trucks and resell them, but we're so much more than that at TruckVin.com. So if you haven't, make sure you subscribe to all of our social media channels, including YouTube, TikTok, Spotify, the Apple and Amazon podcast. Guys, when I put out these podcasts, I want to put out information that is useful to everyone that's listening, whether you're a single truck owner operator, a small fleet, maybe you're a mid-sized fleet, you have 60 to 100 trucks in your fleet, or maybe you're a large trucking fleet. I want to provide valuable insight because buying and selling a truck is so much more intricate than just the price that goes with it. But if you also have valuable knowledge from not only myself, but my entire team, all we do every single week is we communicate via phone, via text, social media, whatever it is. We're working with trucking companies across the nation, and we're asking them, hey, what are you hauling? What are you seeing right now as far as rates? What are you predicting on equipment? What do you have used that's sitting right now that's ready for trade? What new truck units do you have sitting that are going to be coming up for trade? And what are you seeing as far as pricing? Because, times right now where a lot of people have fear in what exactly is going to happen in the used truck market. So many people use the cliche word of, it's cyclical, right? Meaning that pricing is going to go up when demand is high and supply is low and vice versa. And right now, we're on the second half of that. We are seeing less demand and more supply, which has driven down pricing, which we'll get into. But wanted to share that with you. We've got 3-4 different topics we wanted to talk about. Please, if you're listening to this right now, if you're listening to it on any of the listening platforms, we've gone to TruckVin.com, the website. There's actually a tab that says podcast. But guys, make sure you subscribe and leave a review. Just write something where my team or myself can get on there and see what kind of feedback. If you love it, if you hate it, if you have a suggestion, maybe there's something that you want to hear about, you're always welcome to connect with us. But please make sure that you go to these listening platforms and leave a review. If you have any input on something maybe that you're seeing that we haven't heard about, maybe you'd like to be a guest, we'd love to have some of our listeners on the TruckVin.com podcast, which is something new. And we'll have Erin, our producer, make sure that she leaves the information below. But you can email buy@truckvin.com, buy@truckvin.com. Just put in the headline podcast. We'll make sure that Erin and her team reaches out to you and try to get you scheduled for a podcast. So if you're in the trucking industry in any capacity, we'd love to talk with you. Whether you're an owner, operations manager, maybe you're some sort of a vendor for tires, maybe you own a mechanic shop, maybe you're part of J.D. Power or Truck Paper or any of the other multiple platforms out there, we'd love to talk with you. So we're going to jump right into it. EVs, electric vehicles, or electric trucks in this case, but that has been the big word on everybody's mind right now. I was just reading an article earlier. 6 manufacturers are now offering heavy-duty EVs, including Mack, Volvo, International, Kenworth, Peterbilt, and Kalmar. So almost every major manufacturer, add Freightliner to that as well. So you've got Mack, Volvo, International, Kenworth, Peterbilt, Freightliner, and Kalmar. Volvo North America leads the charge in EVs and total models available. This has been a really big push that a lot of us have seen historically in the past, and now obviously we saw a lot of the autonomous trucks, and then we saw a few companies that really spearheaded that focus, such as I think there was a company called Logimotion, and then there's actually a company west of Fort Worth where I live at called Aurora that has really put a big focus on the autonomous drive. I see all of their Peterbilts that they have with the cameras and the big huge mirrors and 10,000 sensors, et cetera. But that's been a really big push with EVs. I thought that was interesting that we're seeing so many more of the manufacturers focusing on these EVs because it is beginning to set in to be a real thing. Now, how soon is it going to phase out diesel trucks? Don't know. Obviously, California seems like they lead the charge in that clean air, wanting to transition completely to electric trucks. But there's time involved with that. So with that being said, the EVs are slowly becoming a real thing. How long will it take? I'm unsure, and I'm sure that only time will tell. But with that being said, the average MSRP by model year, Q1 just released, so Q1 2023, heavy-duty trucks increased by $24,244 from 2021 to 2023 year. So this is brand new trucks. This is not just appreciation from year to year. So a brand new truck MSRP in 2021 was $152,169. In 2023, MSRP $177,413. Now again, this number is provided by Randall Riley, which is the largest network of information, both new and used, available in their respective categories. But we all knew what was going up must come down, and we saw a few new trucks get up in that $250,000 range quickly. A lot of that is changing, but I thought that was interesting that you're only seeing about $12,000 a year the last 2 years increase in MSRP by model year. J.D. Power just released their April 2023 commercial vehicle update. This is a monthly blog, I guess call it a newsletter, but April 2023 commercial vehicle update. Class 8 auction volume. Sales increased notably in March 2023, with most used trucks showing higher than normal average, in which depreciation was accelerated. Basically meaning we're seeing more trucks are being sold, but having more miles than average, which, again, this is something that we've come back to, and I think this is important to share, and not to be the person that says, well, here's X, Y, and Z that is negative, but that's information saying, hey, we're slowly seeing a glimpse as to more trucks being sold. They had more miles than normal because customers couldn't get new trucks last year, which drove up the new truck price. So depreciation is accelerated with higher than normal average miles. Retail trucks from retail avenues, including truck dealerships or some of the other retail entities. Average used truck was just over 5 years old, or 67 months old, with 455,000 miles. Trucks sold for an average of $76,102. So that retail truck price sold for $76,102 in March 2023 with around 455,000 miles. Now, historically, this is kind of just some insight as to industry-wide on what some of the used truck dealerships as a whole have kind of used is most customers will trade their trucks between that 350,000 and 400,000 mile mark. So you're just seeing about 55,000 more miles on that truck today. So in hindsight, I don't think that the mileage is that much worse off than in a normal market. A lot of what I've heard is customers are seeing that pricing is less than what they expected, but trucks are having more miles on them. So on the retail front, that's not terrible at all to only have about 55,000 miles more than normal. The 800-pound gorilla, that is what commercial sleeper trucks are being referred to in the used truck market today. J.D. Power just reported. I think the terminology is being used that way because there is such a large, vast inventory of sleeper trucks today. again, with higher miles than normal, makes that truck a little bit harder to sell because in the secondary market and even the third market in which that truck may be sold, you're going to have to do an overhaul. You're going to have to spend more money on maintenance at some point. If you're buying a 450, 500,000 mile truck, when it gets to 750,000, 800,000 miles, you're going to have to put some money into it. And at some point after that, very soon, you're going to have to do an overhaul, which somebody's going to have to account for, again, lessening the values. So on the good front that I did read from this article is that the day cab and vocational market is still staying strong. The comparison was a day cab will bring more money than a 2-year newer sleeper with average or similar miles to that day cab. So maybe you have a piece of equipment you're looking to get rid of, the day cab, the vocational market, including roll-offs, heavy haul tractors, and this is not the 8,000 or 13,000 pound lift axle. These are true heavy haul tractors, 20 front, 46 rears with drop axles, dump trucks, roll-offs, again, day cabs. So that vocational market seems like it's staying stronger than normal, but the sleeper truck market, there's just such a huge array of them that they're not as valuable. Every week I like to have the team get on truck paper and pull the available trucks for sale. Looks like today, total trucks available just over 21,000. But the key right now is finding the trucks with super low mileage or super late model or vocational, like we just talked about. So mileage 50,000 to 320,000. There's 1,710 trucks available. Now this is all trucks, everything from a roll-off truck, dump truck, sleeper, day cab, etc. Mileage 320,000 to 450, kind of that average trade cycle truck for a customer. There's 4,165. And then mileage 450 to 600,000. There's over 7,000 of those units available. So there's a majority of the trucks available, and you're seeing, unfortunately, a plethora of those 450,000 plus mile trucks. So that is where you're seeing a lot of the pricing depreciation happen. That is where you're seeing a lot of the retail prices being dropped. And we've had numerous customers call in and ask us, hey, man, we're seeing, these 2018, 2019, 2020 model trucks, and they're selling these things for, $50,000, $60,000, $70,000. I don't understand. I was just seeing these same 2019s for upwards of, $90,000 or $100,000. And obviously, again, when there's that large, vast inventory of used trucks with that kind of mileage, it doesn't make them as valuable anymore. But if you know where to go when you're listening to the truckfin.com podcast, I'm going to share a few things with you. So some of the premium money trucks are what we call them, right? So where you're going to get the most money for your trucks, the vocational units, dump trucks, roll-offs, heavy spec trucks, anything that is usually 2 years and newer, under that 250,000 miles is what J.D. Power is referring to them as a low mileage truck. So the big question everybody is asking is, where is the market going and what am I going to do? Here's my input. Refrigerator rates currently are at pre-pandemic pricing, right? Or back to normal. So the southern border, McAllen, Laredo, reefer volumes were up by 24% last week. So you're seeing a lot of that produce freight start moving. Along with that, saw something on LinkedIn a few days ago, and I wish I wrote it down, but it mentioned that Laredo was the number one terminal in the nation for import-export freight, which is huge. Obviously, I'm right here in Dallas-Fort Worth, but not being far from Laredo, I'm down there quite a bit, and it is always, always busy. If we cross over to go to the border into Mexico, it seems like it could be anywhere from a 30-minute wait to a 3.5 or 4-hour wait trying to get in and out because there are so many trucks bringing freight. So that is a huge, huge thing with produce starting to get kicked off. There's a lot of cucumbers, tomatoes, potatoes, etc. coming from Mexico at Laredo, McAllen. There's a lot of our customers that we currently work with that are on that produce haul. The sweet potato bonanza. The USDA just reported a slight shortage in truck capacity to haul sweet potatoes in the eastern North Carolina region. Approximately 3.4 billion pounds, or 80,000 truckloads, will need to be shipped from eastern North Carolina. The USDA has really stepped it up as far as reporting where truck shortages may be in relation to anything food-wise, whether it's produce, fruits, vegetables, meat, peanuts, et cetera, et cetera. So that's another key takeaway if you're listening to this is research the USDA, and they're going to show you where those truck shortages are. It may not be the only thing that you can look at, but it is another valuable resource to have 3.4 billion pounds or 80,000 truckloads. If you're a single owner operator, you're a small fleet, and you can get a piece of that, then hey, we're seeing so many customers diversify right now. We're seeing guys that were hauling just reefer freight getting into hauling flatbed, or we've seen guys that have just hauled flatbed getting into, hey, we may run some of this produce for a little while or run, these ice cream runs or whatever it is. So you're always going to see more diversification because customers are more open to hauling freight because as a trucking company, that's how you make your money. You can't just stay one-dimensional in what you do moving forward. So here's my tips. Plan ahead for the future. Tighter truck capacity in niche markets like we just talked about. Sweet potatoes in eastern North Carolina, produce season at the border, the McAllen, Laredo area. Even some of the construction industry. I know right here in Dallas-Fort Worth, we're still seeing a lot of local freight moving from construction companies, from dump truck haulers, from guys that are hauling rocks. So maybe try to find that niche of the construction industry where you can. There's a lot of big projects coming up, especially we've even seen some out west in the oil field that guys are getting, these pad sites ready, or right here in Dallas-Fort Worth, they're doing a lot of home building. They're doing a lot of, smaller office type, ranch industrial type buildings that they're doing here. So finding that niche market. Number 2 is working with companies that pay quickly. Cash is king in down times. I cannot stress this enough. Obviously, you already know this, but this is such a huge thing that we try to stress to our customers. So many people that we've talked to have said, hey, I need to hurry up and get out of my truck because I got a payment due and I don't have any money. And obviously, we never try to have a conversation with somebody and say, hey, well, where are you putting your money at? But just in conversation, they'll say, oh, well, I'm on, 30-day net, or I'm on 60-day net, or I'm on, XYZ program, or I'm waiting on my factoring company to pick up these invoices, or, this BOL was missing some sort of piece of information, or whatever the case is. But cash is king in downtimes. And obviously you hear that from anybody that is incredibly successful. Even, Warren Buffett, to right on his heels, has said that having cash allows you to obviously buy equipment at a cheaper valuation, right? Maybe you are looking to acquire a company and you have the cash to do so, or the financing in place, or maybe you just have cash that you're able to sustain and pay for your bills, because some people say, hey, I'm not hauling for these rates, I'm just going to park the truck. So cash is king. Number 3 is reevaluating what equipment you have sitting, finding multiple uses for your equipment. Again, this goes back to, if you have a day cab sitting, let's try to put it on a local or regional haul. Maybe hook it up to a flatbed. Maybe hook it up to a local air freight run, hauling dry vans back and forth. Maybe put it on a tanker. If you have equipment sitting, either put it in use or put it out there so that you can sell it and get rid of it. Because there are carriers or single owner operators that are looking for a specific piece of equipment, especially right now. Number 4 is, if you're ready to sell your truck, you can go to truckvin.com. You can submit your truck, or you can call the buy team hotline at 855-TRUCK-20, 855-878-2520. When we share these podcasts, we want to share valuable information that you're like, hey, you know what? This is something that I didn't know. Because truckvin.com is so much more than just buying your truck, bringing you real, valuable insight inside of everything that you do each and every step of the way. We want to be a true resource. So if there's something that we can help with, we just helped a couple customers last week get on a flatbed run that one of our fleets had that said, hey, I need some help with hauling these loads. And it was a few loads, but it helped a guy out that had a truck parked that wasn't bringing in any income. So if you like what we're doing here, again, make sure you go to your listening platform, leave a review, subscribe to the podcast. We'd love to hear from you. If you're ready to be a guest, email us buy@truckvin.com, buy@truckvin.com.
You've been listening to the TruckVin.com podcast with Zach Ellis, your go-to source for up-to-date insights on the trucking industry. Remember, when you're ready to sell, call America's foremost truck buyer at 855-TRUCK20 or visit TruckVin.com. Join us next time for the TruckVin.com podcast.